Hi everyone, I just wanted to have a little chat with you about the impact of the last few months on your mental health, your well-being, and just generally how you are feeling, obviously on the return to work as well. Work for me, school for you guys. It does feel like work, work, work. So there's a couple of things that I wanted to have a chat with you about. But also finding out some of the positives as well. So I thought this was really interesting when I was doing some research about, from my perspective, what to expect you guys might feel like on the return after lockdown, and the return to education, knowing fine well how I felt about returning to work, having had 6 months off as well. Obviously, we know that one of the biggest impact was, and the worries was schools and universities being unable to attend them, the quality of the education, uncertainty around exams. Young people were much more likely to report being bored and lonely. 42% of them reported it was making their mental health worse. So I was quite shocked by how big that statistic is, because we also know that because of the impact of COVID, some of the services that some of you access, which is external agencies, you haven't necessarily been able to go to your appointments, to go to the GP. A lot of them's been telephone based, which I know lots of people that doesn't work for. Hopefully you have turned to friends and family and exercise and some TV. Certainly that was something that I found helped me, even though I'm not a young 16 to 19-year-old, although I am in my head. So again, it's what worked for you during this time. And we've got to remember that everybody's different, and some people can't think of anything worse than being at home with their family, but other people have really enjoyed being able to spend time together. Lots of people, it's been a bit of both. But again, it's been a very different experience for each one of you. So for me, the impacts on daily life that it's had on obviously everybody, but I guess there's the bit that is really relevant to you when we think about the concerns about education and next steps. The changing in socialising, obviously I think at the beginning that had such a huge impact. Not being able to see friends, not being able to see extended family outside of home, not being able to see boyfriends or girlfriends, that was really, really difficult. I found it really difficult. My parents are elderly, they fell into that vulnerable category. I wasn't able to go around and give my mum and dad a cuddle or have a glass of wine with them or anything like that, and I genuinely found that probably one of the most difficult things. Obviously there's been changes in home circumstances for lots of you, either in a positive or a negative way. There has been some redundancies made. Obviously there's been going from having no parents at home to everybody working from home, and you guys trying to access your education from home as well. Many of you may have noticed that I don't have the same surname as I had last year, so there has been changes in my home circumstances as well. And all of these are having impacts all the time, even if you don't realise that they are. You've probably spent more time with whoever lives at home than you've ever spent in your life, and for many of you that will have been a positive, but for many of you that may have caused some niggles and some arguments as well. Thinking about the feelings of isolation, and again this links very much to the socialising side of things. I guess you guys are lucky in a way, and don't really ever say lucky and social media in the same sentence, but you are lucky that you've been able to keep in touch via social media. I know lots of you have been gaming and dragging out your old headsets that you might have had lower down the school in order to be able to game together and be able to have that kind of crack alongside that as well. So I think that's been a positive, but there's certainly been times I believe that most people that are listening to this have felt a bit lonely and a bit isolated. I would certainly include myself in that as well. And obviously moving on to the concerns about education and next steps. For me, it is difficult. I've spoken to quite a few of 12s and 13s about, well, what's going to happen about exams and what's going to happen about university and what's going to happen about coursework. And at the minute we can only go off what we're being told, and I know that that's really difficult because that brings a lot of what ifs. At this point, the government is saying that year 13s will sit their exams. Obviously, none of us have got the ability to look into the future and see if that is going to happen or not, but we need to be concentrating with the end goal that you guys will sit those exams moving forward. And to support with that, I think lots of subjects are currently doing some little tests and things like that, just to see if there is any gaps in anybody's learning and anybody's knowledge that we need to look at making sure that that's filled, so that you have the confidence to move on. And then I guess from a year 12 perspective, you're coming in kind of new, everything feels a little bit different. We've gone to these crazy double lessons, which is really difficult. And I think that the double lessons are having a bit of an impact on concentration during independent study time as well. So what you will find is you will be given time on a Monday in tutor to plan what you're going to look at for the rest of the week in terms of where you're going to work, what room you're going to do, what subject you're going to look at. And this is very much something that we would do at the start of every year, but obviously because of that we need to stay in the bubbles, and because we can't fit as many people in some of the areas that we would usually use, I think this is going to be a really good way of planning your time, but also planning what you're going to look at during that independent study period, so that you're not kind of spending the first 10 minutes shuffling papers around trying to decide what you're going to do. So this new normal, then I'm pretty sick of hearing that as a phrase as well. There are a lot of concerns, and I totally get that, and there are things that are out of our control, and there are things that we very much can control. So for me, it's very much you guys looking at what am I in control of and what am I not in control of. And the things you're not in control of are what might happen in 6 months, what might happen in 4 months. And although that's really difficult, we've got to kind of come away from the what ifs and focus on the here and now. What do I need to achieve today? What do I need to achieve this week? Okay, there are lots of you that will be listening to this that are thinking, oh my goodness, this is exactly how I feel and I don't know who or where to go. You need to speak to someone, whether that be me, your friends, your tutors, somebody at home. As much as we're saying the new normal, it's absolutely natural to have feelings of anxiety around what is going to happen and what school's going to feel like and everything like that as well. So I do believe that sharing your experiences, and not just about COVID, generally I think everybody should talk a little bit more about how they feel. So why do I think you should do that? I think that age-old saying of a problem shared is a problem halved generally usually is true. If you are worrying or concerned about something, although sometimes saying it out loud can be upsetting and can be frightening, a lot of the time after that you might feel a bit of a sense of relief as well, because somebody knows and somebody might be able to help you. Make sure it's with the right person, somebody who can support you, who's got the mental capacity to be able to support you. And what benefit again, because you might then be able to realise that you need somebody to talk to, you need a little bit of extra support, or actually you just need to have a crack and get it off your chest. It could be any of those reasons. But what I want to kind of end on, yes, we talk about, oh, this pandemic this, and we've done this, and this has been a negative. There must be positives. There's certainly been lots and lots of positives for me. I've got more time than I've ever had to spend with my lovely daughter Lily. My house is pretty tidy and pretty clean at the minute. Some of you have seen me stomping along the loop road lip syncing, so I've taken up a little bit of walking. Because of that, I've lost a little bit of weight, so I'm feeling better about myself that way. I feel that my friendships have strengthened because I haven't been able to just go around to somebody's house as much, so it's gone right back to the old-fashioned having to have a conversation with somebody, whether that be ringing them up, whether that be video call, anything like that. I feel that I've really realised who my friends are, who I can rely on, and we've had quite a laugh about it along the way as well. And I think that goes the same for family. I think that all of a sudden you realise how important and how valuable and how precious your family are. I lost my nana during lockdown and had to have quite an unusual funeral that we maybe weren't quite expecting, with a limit on numbers and things like that. And again, although that has been such a difficult time, it's been a positive time because we've come together as a family to support each other. So there is positives in every negative that you can find. And so for the last few minutes, I do want you to spend some time thinking about what your personal positives been. If you could, and you feel that you are brave enough, if you could share those with the other people in your tutor, because it could be that they're struggling to find some positives, but you have been able to find them. So please find some positives. If you need the support, you know where we are. There's me, Mrs. Brown and Mr. Haslop and your tutors that would be more than happy to speak to you, to see if we think we need you to get some extra support, to have any difficult conversations with your family that you may feel like you haven't been able to have. So you know where we are. Find some positives and start to tell me about the positives of COVID rather than going on about the negatives.